With the 87th Academy Awards set for February 22nd, 2015, the nominees were announced this past Thursday. The results named it the whitest Oscars since 1998, started trending hashtags like Oscars So White, and backlash from the general public and film community alike. Today I have friends of the show, Hamilton Whitney of FilmHamster.com, Dean Rogers of the Rogers Review, and Michael Parsons of DC Filmdom to talk Oscar snubs and overall feelings. We'll also talk about our most anticipated films of 2015, and that's all ahead on Picture Lock. All right, so guys, obviously the Oscar nominees came out this past Thursday, and there's been an uproar just on the internet, you know, in film communities, group boards, everything. So let's just talk about some of the snubs and what are you guys' feelings? Anybody want to start out?
Well, I think, you know, obviously the biggest, most blatant snub that we're all going to be talking about is Selma, with David Oyelowo, you know, as his portrayal of Martin Luther King was phenomenal. And so you question, or I think we all do, that something can get a nom for Best Picture, yet somehow not get nominated for anything else. Like what made it Best Picture?
Right.
Certainly the lead performance is what made it the Best Picture. And I mean, what did you think about it? Like I think that, you know, that's the most blatant snub overall as far as the big ones.
Yeah. I have to agree with you right there, because it's not only what makes a bad picture, it has to be the director. And Ava DuVernay did one hell of a job to take a film that was a black guy during the 1965 civil rights era and brought it to reality nearly 50 years later towards the event. And she did a job with the cinematography, with the casting, with telling a beautiful story. A powerful, tragic story, but yet beautiful on screen. And how both David and Ava got snubbed, it's really a tragedy.
Yeah. You know, I've obviously, in preparation for this, I've just been reading a lot of different message boards, a lot of different articles. And one of the things that I will say is that I think, as we all kind of know, with the screeners, around the time that people are really getting into voting, the screeners didn't get out, I believe, in time for Selma. As you all know, we're all part of Washington, D.C. Area Film Critics Association. They had a screening here, but we didn't get a DVD copy. And so I think one of the arguments has also been that some of like the SAG members, all these people didn't get to see a screening of it before the deadline, and that being a part of, you know, the factor of, you know, how they kind of got missed. But that being said, I do think it's one of the huge travesty. Honestly, to me, I feel kind of like was the Academy watching the same movies that I watched this past year? Because a lot of the films that should have been, you know, nominated, or the directors just didn't get that. And Selma is one of those, as you said, it's huge. I mean, if you watch that film, it's, to me, one of the best biopics that I've seen in a long time, and mainly because of the choice of Selma just focusing on such a one slice that just told everything for the whole civil rights movement. And to me, again, this is just a travesty.
Yeah, I agree. Not jumping back and trying to cover a broad period. Like so many biopics tend to sort of follow this formula where they hook you with an initial scene and then they jump back to the childhood and then they work their way sort of very quickly through what made them who they are and everything. But this just focused on the one movement, and it was very, very focused and well acted. I feel like, you know, as much as I like something like American Sniper, and Bradley Cooper's performance was great, I don't think he necessarily deserved a slot in there. I mean, even like Oscar Isaac in The Most Violent Year, I think, should have been in there before he was. So it's sort of an odd list, and you wonder.
Yeah, definitely.
Just to jump back a little bit with the screeners, I think I'm the only one here who actually hasn't seen Selma, mostly because there was one screening I couldn't make it to, and I wasn't didn't receive a DVD. So, I mean, I'm hearing it's incredibly good, and I can't imagine that a film that got nominated for Best Picture didn't have a lead actor that was, there were some in there, like Steve Carell for Foxcatcher. He was fine, but I didn't see him as a Best Actor.
Yeah.
So it does seem surprising.
Yeah.
It almost seems like it was nominated for Best Picture because they sort of weren't nominating it for anything else.
Right.
That's almost the way it felt, since it didn't get any. I think there was some minor award it got nominated for, but
Best original song or something like that.
Yeah,
was it
a song.
Did it for yeah.
Absolutely. In fact, another snub that happened within was Life Itself, the document about Roger Ebert. That got also snubbed with the Oscars. But however, both the song from Selma and Life Itself won Critics' Choice Awards just recently.
Yeah. And you know, going also into not just, you know, minorities, but also in terms of women. I mean, obviously with Selma, this would have been a great time to have the first African-American female director to be nominated. But just in terms of women as well, it seems like we don't see too many women in, you know, obviously the directing category. And there's a lot of other categories as well. I forget what the exact percentages is, but I think when they broke down the Academy of, you know, like it's the median age is like 65,
68,
Yes.
something like that. Yeah.
Right. So it's just kind of crazy. Like films like Gone Girl, you know, it seemed to be kind of forgotten about, but you know, this I don't know. I think on a critic level as well as just a mass audience, everyone seemed to really love that film.
It's one of my favorites.
Yeah, me too.
Right.
Me too. And I can't remember if Gillian Flynn's screenplay ended up on the nomination list. Did it? Excuse me. I don't think it did.
I think it had.
It's a good question.
I think
So
the
what
only
happens?
I think Rosamund Pike was the only nomination for that movie. For
I
Best
think
Actress.
so.
Yeah.
Which that would have been a travesty if she wasn't nominated.
Yeah,
because,
that was amazing.
Yeah, I was talking with Jason Fraley last week, and we were just talking about how it just felt like Rosamund Pike just played 3 characters in one film. You know, it was just an incredible performance. What about the Grand Budapest Hotel? Like, it got a lot of love, tied with, what was the other one that had the most? Was it Birdman?
Birdman, I think.
Birdman.
Okay.
Yeah. I think it was like 9 for Grand Budapest. Was it?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes, it was.
yeah. So, what do you guys think about, you know, Grand Budapest getting like all this love? Wes Anderson.
Well, you know, Wes Anderson has always been hit or miss with me. I'm not like a diehard Wes Anderson fan by any means. You know, he's hot and cold with me. I loved Grand Budapest. I'm glad to see a movie that was as far back, I think it came out in March, getting so much attention. You know, you don't see that too often. I mean, this is particularly 9 nominations. I really enjoyed the movie. You know, cinematography, things like that, director, I'm trying to remember what else, score, I mean, it got just about everything.
Right.
It surprised me.
Yeah.
I went in with sort of an attitude of Wes Anderson doing Wes Anderson's thing, and he's getting artsier and artsier and more, you know, sort of just out there with each film. But I really liked it.
Yeah. To his credit, it seems as though he purposely put it out in March last year so that he didn't have to do, you know, the awards hustle, and here he is. Which, you know, I thought the Grand Budapest was all right, but I personally don't think that it should have garnered this much attention. And sometimes I kind of wonder with the Academy, it feels like, you know, somebody's been looked over enough times, then they give them the sympathy card versus like, you know, what was really good this year.
Right.
Yeah, the politics. of
Right.
it.
I mean, I really enjoyed the movie. It was one of my favorites of the year. I was kind of surprised to see it get all that attention, though, since it didn't really seem like the type of film that would get that attention, and it came out so long ago.
Right.
I mean, at one point I was thinking it was a 2013 movie. I'm like, oh, no, that did come out this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does get a little blurry
Yeah.
after June, or you know, everything before June. It's like, and it's a long year.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Whiplash. I don't know about you guys. We can talk about what some of your disappointments were. I wanted to see. I mean, it's cool that it got nominated for Best Picture, but Damien Chazelle as director, I felt like he just did a great job. But he didn't make the list. And this came like he wrote and directed it. And to me, like, this is my personal opinion. it's my desert island film of last year. Like I could just watch it over and over if I was stuck on a desert island. But I felt like, you know, it was like, no, Best Picture is cool, but like, again, this is one of those ones where the director really did his thing. J.K. Simmons gave a phenomenal performance.
Yes, he did.
And that also takes direction, you know, like the director has to pull that out of the actor. And so that to me was one of the snubs that I'm just like, what in the world?
Yeah, that was J.K. Simmons is J.K. Simmons and Edward Norton, I think, are my top two for Best Supporting Actor. But J.K. Simmons, I think I said his sort of drill instructor, you know, music instructor guy could make most of this year's comic book villains like curl up and cry for their mom, right? Because he was so brutal.
And you can't take your eyes off him either.
Yeah, it's just like he is just brutal and brilliant. So I think he deserves it.
Definitely.
If not him, I hope Edward Norton wins that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of my biggest snubs, other than Selma, was the Lego Movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was one of the best animated films I've ever seen in a long time. And plus, being a meta geek myself, I was in the Lego club back in middle school. So to hear about the movie in Legos, it's like, you gotta be kidding me. And then everything is awesome. Who hasn't sung the song at one time last year or this year?
Right.
But I'm glad it's got a nomination for original song. But the movie is like, compared to How to Train Your Dragon 2, that would have been number 2, but Lego is number 1 in my heart for last year.
See,
and I can't believe it didn't earn a nomination.
Yeah, I would have actually left off How to Train Your Dragon 2, and I had pegged Lego Movie as winning before nominations came out. Same with Life Itself. That was my prediction for the winning documentary, and then it wasn't even nominated.
Right.
But
yeah, I was surprised.
Those were my two biggest surprises.
With Life Itself, that was a snub as far as I'm concerned, but I also was surprised to see some films on that list, like Virunga, and I wasn't surprised to see Citizen 4 on there, but I was happy to see Virunga on there. But yeah, I think Life Itself, you know, a movie about somebody's, you know, in our industry, a legend in our industry that was well shot and well documented.
Yeah, I thought it was a fantastic documentary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So I was going to say, I don't know. The Imitation Game has gotten a little bit of love. Keira Knightley with supporting as well as Best Picture. Did you guys like The Imitation Game as well? I thought that this is one of those ones that, I mean, I thought it was a solid film. I don't necessarily know that, you know, it was one of those that should rise up as much as it did, but, you know.
It was
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I thought it deserved some recognition. I was sort of surprised with Keira Knightley. I didn't think she was in the film that much to sort of get the nomination. But it was definitely a solid movie worth seeing.
It had that sort of polish of a I don't want to say typical, but you know, these biopics come out and they're trying to be friendly to a broad audience, and you sort of get the sense that things have been altered and watered down to make it look the way it looks. But I think for that film, Benedict Cumberbatch deserved to be nominated. You know, the direction was fine. I don't think there was anything really stand out about the direction or the technical qualities of the movie, but I thought the screenplay was really good.
Right.
But it was one of the better films of the year. It was one of the better biopics of the year, I should say.
Yeah.
Certainly enjoyed it more than Foxcatcher.
We talked about that earlier.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Yeah, I mean, you know, Foxcatcher, I mean, I think it was solid in terms of a moody film, and we talked about this, you guys, but yeah, I don't see it getting as much love as it did. All right, I don't want to come down on the Oscars the entire time. What were some of the things that you saw that were nominated that like you're excited about?
Michael Keaton, his performance in Birdman. I mean, this is an actor who was, as we all know, Batman 25 years ago. And then he left the biz for almost 20 years. And then to come back with his performance that's, without a doubt, phenomenal. To go play a former superhero who's trying to make it big as a Broadway actor, producing his own play. One of the best performances, especially the cinematography. It's almost like you're watching a play rather than a movie.
Right.
And tip my hat to the director and Michael Keaton's performance and Edward Norton's performance. They were all phenomenal.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you guys.
I was happy to see that. That did not surprise me at all that there were that many nominations, but it was one that I felt it was justified. Each one was justified. I can't remember how many it got exactly. I was still thinking about the 9 for Grand Budapest.
Yeah.
but it got a lot. I think
it was up there also.
Yeah, it was close. One of the surprises, this is kind of it was Laura Dern in Wild. I thought the movie itself was okay. I didn't think it was. I didn't think there was much about it that was Oscar worthy. Reese Witherspoon's performance was fine. I didn't really see her in Best Actress category, but Laura Dern as Best Supporting, I really was glad to see that on there because I thought she gave a great, very impassioned performance in that film, and she sort of stole her scenes.
Nice. Yeah, I still haven't gotten a chance to see Wild, so Jason was talking about that last week and just said it was a great film.
Yeah, I need to see it as well.
Okay.
Well, I saw the film not too long ago, and Laura Dern's performance was also a phenomenal performance to play a young mother who was taking care of Cheryl, and she was diagnosed with breast cancer. I think it was breast cancer, right, Mike?
I think it was, yes.
And she died at the age of 45, and that part of her performance really touched me personally because I lost a mother at a young age myself, and to see her performance resonate with what I've been through is simply amazing.
Yeah. One of the best actresses, Marion Cotillard, for 2 Days, One Night. I was excited to see that because I saw the film actually at the Middleburg Film Festival, and I was just blown away by her performance in that. So I was definitely glad to see her get some love. In the film, she plays a mother who finds out that she's going to lose her job, and she has basically 2 days and 1 night to try to get everyone that works with her to kind of vote for her to keep her job. So I'm definitely glad to see her, and definitely Rosamund Pike, Julianne Moore, and still Alice. I think that was just a phenomenal performance.
Yes. Julianne Moore for sure.
Right.
Without question.
I mean, it's no doubt about when I watched that film, I was like, they had to have shot this in chronological order, as the script set, because the way that by the end of it, she's just, it's like if you started at the end and had to go back to the beginning, I don't know if she could have pulled that off. I'd like to know. Yeah,
Julianne Moore definitely handled the material in a way that other actors might have made it almost comical by inadvertently.
Yeah.
And I just felt like it just was really, she did a good job of making it convincing without, and I didn't think the movie was entirely depressing, about somebody with Alzheimer's, with early onset Alzheimer's. But it managed to be a rather optimistic film, and she just kept the perfect balance, I thought, as Alice.
Right.
That was one of the more heart-wrenching films of the year, I thought.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the movie itself could have been pretty mediocre, but she just her performance in there is so captivating,
right?
So real.
Right.
I mean, she has my vote for best actress. I think that performance there.
Right.
It's phenomenal.
It's one of those films where the lead performance is the film.
Is the film, yeah.
Definitely.
Exactly. And she has it hands down. I mean, this was a person who started her career as a soap opera actress and come a long way with The Hand That Rocks the Cradle, the others, and she's now President Coin in the Hunger Games trilogy. I hope she wins the Oscar hands down.
Yeah, and I think even in lesser hands, her performance, different things that happen in the film, could have been corny, it could have been cheesy, but it just felt authentic. I felt like I'm, in the sense that you're watching a documentary because you're watching an actual person kind of lose everying.
And strictly from a performance standpoint, I felt the same exact thing about Selma, that he made the film. So you wonder, why did it not get not even a nomination for Best Actor? It was blew me away.
Right. Steve Carell, Foxcatcher, Best Actor. Does that make sense to you guys? Or should I say
the prosthetics department maybe could have gotten
sense to you guys?
Yeah, I think his nose will win an award, but
right.
Maybe just to make up for all the Emmy nominations he didn't win.
Yeah.
It could be. I don't know. I mean, I one thing that I'm definitely realizing, just as I get more into the film biz, not that I made it or something like that, but I just feel like, man, there's so many games that are played. There's so much politicking going on in this. And so while I felt like going into this year, I thought like, oh, I'm gonna win my bracket. This right here, just like it's like a bracket bust. Like I don't know what's gonna happen now.
Yeah.
All right. Any final thoughts on Oscar snubs and just overall nominees?
I don't know. I think I've covered what the snubs that come to my mind for sure.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I delivered everything I said. But that said, some of these snubs have gotten trusted with the Critics' Choice Awards, which some critics called the better of all the award shows, which I definitely agree.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I think ultimately we'll see what happens. I still love the Oscars. There's going to be, I'm going to throw an Oscar party and all that good stuff. I do think that we had a good year in film. There's plenty of great stuff that's out there that people got to check out. But yeah, the Oscars is the one that we all like get around the TV for, and when they don't call it the way we think it should be called, sometimes that
frustrating.
Frustrating. Exactly. All right, guys, we're gonna take a quick break and we'll be back and talk top 10. No, actually top 9 most anticipated films of 2015. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Erin Essenmacher from Women in Film and Video, and you're watching Picture Lock.
All right, it's 2015. It's a new year. That means there's going to be some new films. Now, I've said this before, but sometimes a trailer will come out and I say, man, I hope I don't die before I get to see that movie. I've been saying that since like Spider-Man 3, and I'm talking about the Tobey Maguire one. So it's been a while. But this year, we'll just talk about some of those most anticipated films. So starting out, probably the number one on most everybody's list is Star Wars: The Force Awakens. What do you guys think about this new Star Wars film?
Yeah, my interest in the Star Wars franchise was not killed with the middle section of films that came out, the George Lucas directed, 1, 2, and 3 episodes.
So you're saying Jar Jar Binks didn't ruin your Star Wars?
I liked
Came close.
I liked Revenge of the
Right.
Sith. I thought they got progressively better as it went.
That's
But
true.
when I found out J.J. Abrams was taking over for Star Wars, I immediately knew they were going to be more well-directed technically, everything.
Right.
Not to mention that Lawrence Kasdan, who wrote the screenplay for Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, is returning for the franchise. And the whole cast, the whole, Harrison Ford and all those guys coming back. I think it's going to be, and just that little snippet of a trailer they put out, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right.
Millennium Falcon and all that is, I can't wait till December.
Yeah.
It's definitely on the top of my list. I've always loved Star Wars. The prequels though just were kind of painful. I think most people feel that way.
Yeah.
And but J.J. Abrams, I think he's going to do a great job with it. Disney has proven that they can purchase a new property and do amazing things with it, with the way they've handled Marvel. And if they handle Star Wars in any of the same quality, it's going to be an exciting ride, I think.
It looks great.
I've been waiting a long time for it as a Star Wars, well, Star Trek first, then Star Wars geek. The trailer alone was phenomenal. It's like, this is what Star Wars was when I was a little kid, and to see it, that quality, that action adventure film once again to come on the screen late 2015, December, I'm ready for it. I'm going to do it. When I first heard J.J. Abrams was going to direct it, I was like, you gotta be kidding me. You just did
Really?
Star Trek.
Really?
And now you can
He
take
did such
on
a great job with the
Right.
Star Trek movies, though, don't you think?
Well,
yeah,
the
he
first
did.
one.
He did
Yeah.
a great job. I'm just saying, please don't let there be no lens flares in Star Wars. We don't need any more lens flares.
I
Right.
don't mind the lens.
But
flare.
just to see the trailer, it's like, okay, I'll give him a chance. He has proven himself worthy. I think he can handle both franchises. But you're right, with the original cast, with Harrison Ford, Carrie Fisher, and Mark Hamill back on board, and Peter Mayhew, and everyone, it's like, we're ready
Yeah.
to take on the Force again.
I
Right,
can't believe nobody ever thought to do a handguard on their lightsaber before.
Yeah,
That's been up for a lot of debate, whether it's safer or more dangerous to have that there.
Right, you might impale
Stab
yourself.
right. And this story is supposed to take place like 30 years later,
I
right?
guess as far after as we've been from Return of the Jedi.
Exactly.
Which is
yeah.
actually kind of
yes.
awesome because
It
it's
keeps the ages of the characters right,
Right.
there.
It does, yeah.
right, and it also opens things up to be like a total. I'm expecting a totally different story. Sure, Darth is like grandfather now, but like like super old. But it's just gonna be cool to see where they take it, and I think that's part of the fun in terms of looking at the trailer and trying to see, okay, who is this character? What original cast member or character is gonna be in the new film? I think that's pretty awesome.
Looks like Mark Hamill, from a shot that I saw still from the film, he's sporting the Obi-Wan Kenobi look. Like, so he's supposed to be taking that, he's developed into that role where he's
He
the
said he
wise.
can't stand seeing himself in a beard, but if that was the price to pay to be in this film.
Right, sure.
Yep.
Nice.
But we'll answer the age-old question. What happened with Leia and Solo? Did they get married? Did they have kids? I've been wondering for that for a long time, since
guess-
1984, something
I
like
guess
that.
we'll find out. Maybe they're like divorced now and like
That's a
they're
good point.
They could knowing
add a
him,
little
but
domestic drama into the proceedings.
they're probably divorced. They still live together, and he's like grumpy on the couch.
Grumpy old scoundrel.
Right.
Right.
All right, guys. To keep it moving, Avengers: Age of Ultron. What are you guys thinking?
Looks great from the two
Yeah.
trailers that have been out. I thought, honestly, I might get just stoned here for saying this, but I thought the first Avengers, I thought it was a great movie, but I thought it was overrated. I thought films like this year's, like Captain America, Winter Soldier, were better than the Avengers. I think Ultron, from the looks of it, is going to be amazing. It's darker. You have James Spader doing the voice of Ultron. That sounds awesome. And just the whole, I think it's going to all come together because you don't have the whole setup to deal with, and there's going to be a lot more action, and it's going to be a more, just a refined type film.
Yeah,
Right,
I think
yeah.
for the most part, Marvel films have been just getting better each one after each one,
I agree.
and really evolving into a really interesting franchise. Each movie has its sort of distinct flavor. They're not been afraid to branch off a little bit more, with Captain America being more of an espionage movie than a superhero movie.
Right.
And then Guardians of the Galaxy being the most
Yeah.
obscure franchise that they could pretty much throw at the screen, and I mean, everybody loved it. It worked great.
Right.
So yeah, I'm definitely excited to see Avengers Ultron.
Somebody, I know you want to say, somebody said, I can't remember who it was that put it out there. It might have been somebody in our association that forwarded it on Facebook or something, but said, what if the Guardians of the Galaxy were just the Avengers, like, D&D game, and these were their characters?
I saw that. I saw that.
It was really funny. Like,
Yeah.
oh,
made a
my
lot
name
of
is Rocket.
sense.
I'm a talking raccoon.
Right.
It's like Captain America playing the game, and he's Rocket.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm also looking forward to the sequel, especially, you're right, James Spader playing Ultron, and to point out your fact that each Marvel film keeps getting better and better. In fact, recently I saw an honest trailer of, I think it was Guardians of the Galaxy, or one of the films, that said, why watch DC comic films? I'm sorry, DC comic fans, but why watch films that can keep getting worse?
Right,
While Marvel's
yeah.
keep getting better and better to keep raising the bar, and now we got Ant-Man coming out in the next few years. We got these wonderful films. Like, every Marvel film is like, what's gonna happen? What's gonna happen next? What they're gonna make next?
Yeah, and I think, to go back to what you were saying, Michael, and in regards to the first Avengers, I felt like it did a great job. This is when we kind of finally got to see the culmination of all these films come together. So, like, for the first time, it was cool. And now I feel like that's why Captain America was like even better, because it's like we've laid the groundwork, we get who he is, and like now we can just have a film, and so and seeing this one, I think it's gonna be cool to see them all come back together. And the biggest thing for me with Marvel is 20 years from now, it's gonna be an amazing, like, what you could probably watch all the
Insane
Marvel
universe
movies,
and all connected, and all the
Exactly.
all the
That's-
television shows it
Yeah.
spawned into, and all these,
It'll be a long marathon.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
But it'll be cool.
It'll be remembered as when superheroes were cool, alive, and kicking, and every year you're looking forward to another superhero film to blow the previous one out of the water.
Right, exactly. And Marvel is definitely doing that, especially like with like going into Netflix, and you know, their universe is like it's creeping into every kind of facet of media right now. Yeah. All right, moving forward. This one is probably like I'm geeking out about this one, but Furious 7, you know, from the Fast and the Furious franchise. I personally cannot wait to see this. I remember the first time I saw Fast and the Furious. I was in high school. I borrowed my mom's Acura. So when I left, like I sped out, I hit the gas, and the car went
slow after that movie.
Yeah, exactly. And so ever since then, you know, and the same thing like with Star Wars, there were a couple in there that were horrible, but I'm really looking forward to seeing this, especially with the absence of Paul Walker, his brother stepping in. I mean, it's kind of amazing how the whole ideal of family, you know, really reigns true with this film in terms of his literal family, kind of coming in to help make this film get made. What do you guys think?
Well, this is one of those franchises that 10 years ago, if you'd said, hey, there's going to be, you know, they're going to make it to number 7 by 2015,
people are going to want to see it.
Well, I'd be like, great, you know, whatever. I was sort of indifferent to the franchise, but I think when it got to Fast 5, that's where the franchise really took off. It hit its perfect stride.
Exactly.
It's still my favorite one. I think now we're getting into, you know, we're trying to top and top and top, but the cast is built out, you know, adding The Rock, you know, Dwayne Johnson in there and everything like that, and just you get these like these crazy ensembles that keep getting added onto for the films. And yes, with Paul Walker, with it being his last film, and I think his brother, was he a stunt double? Is that what he was, and he's stepping in for him, or was he an actor? I don't remember.
I think, I'm not sure. I remember reading an article where it was a debate on like CGIing or if they were just using him like the back of them. So
there were a couple of very crazy looking action
more
sequences.
Info will probably come out about that closer
as it
to
gets
the
closer.
film.
Exactly.
But yeah, that I was never a big fan of the Fast and Furious franchise, but then with the Fast 6, it wasn't a good movie, but it was pretty much the most fun I had at the movies that year.
Right.
And I mean, from looking at where 7 is going, it looks like it's going to be more of the same. Which
I thought that movie got snubbed at the Oscars last year.
Who would have guessed?
Well, I have to admit that for me, it's like a roller coaster. It goes up and it goes down. The first couple films were great, and then Tokyo Drift came out of the blue. It's like, I don't want to watch this anymore.
Right.
Fast 5 came, and it's like, okay, it's pretty good. It's going back, and then 7 comes. It's like, this is great. I don't want to see this again. But you're right, it's bittersweet without Paul Walker being there. And his final performance. But we have the films he was in with Fast 5, the Fast Furious series to remember him by.
Yeah, and despite what you think of him as an actor, or you like his films, or he's a genuinely comes across as a genuinely likable, appealing person who you know he's a great action star, and it's just incredibly sad to hear about. But the film, not to mention, is being directed by James Wan, you know, who's been known as a horror director, like Insidious and The Conjuring. So it's gonna be interesting to see what he does with it, and where it goes from here.
Yeah, if it goes, you know,
if it goes
here, like I to me, it seems like I wouldn't be surprised if the cast said, "Hey, you know, this is it. Like Paul, you know, isn't going to be with us anymore." Yeah. But at the same time, they might say, "Hey, let's do it for Paul. Let's take this as far as we can." So
yeah, I mean, they
isn't the tagline "All roads lead to this"? Or was
something
that
right?
I think that might have been the last one.
Was it?
It might have. It's hard to tell.
I don't know.
They all have like Vin Diesel on the cover, like either holding a shotgun, walking towards a car.
Right.
But they're fun movies.
Yeah.
But they do say in the trailer, one last ride. That doesn't necessarily mean anything. At all.
Yeah, if it makes a lot of money, there's going to be another one right down the road.
I did think it was pretty brilliant how they came back around and incorporated the seemingly unrelated Tokyo Drift into the storyline, and then you find out that it happened. The 6 happened prior to what happened, and I thought that was an interesting way to tie it all together.
And the after credit stinger was that was one of the best after credit stingers.
Very simple, but it
Jason Statham. I mean,
exactly.
If you hadn't heard anything about it, it was a surprise.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those guilty pleasure films that, maybe it's going to get snubbed every time.
Every time. It's not going to be like Jason Statham, best supporting actor this year. Probably not, but he's good at what he does. It'll be a fun movie.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
looks pretty crazy.
Most definitely. All right, let's move on to an upcoming British science fiction thriller film written and directed by Alex Garland called Ex Machina. Now, I think for most viewers, probably haven't heard about this. Let's just talk about it.
It's a film where this person who works for a computer company, he gets invited to his boss's retreat to try out this new artificial intelligence system. A young female woman who's supposed to feel, touch, taste what it's like to be a human. And when I first saw the trailer, I thought this is something that's really never been done before. I was intrigued, I was surprised, especially with Alicia Vikander and Dominic Gleeson, who the two of them, they worked before in Anna Karenina back in 2011. So it's nice to see that chemistry again. Dendro, Oscar Isaac, who did a brilliant performance, I think, in Inside Llewellyn Davis.
Right.
The
And The Most
Most
Violent
Violent
Year.
Year.
The Most Violent
this
Year.
past year.
And he's going to be in Star Wars.
That's
That's
right.
right.
Jeez,
That's right.
Yep.
this
They all
guy.
die together. He's really good. He's like
Right.
Nick
He is.
Pacino to me, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think for me personally, like just seeing Oscar Isaac, I thought
I
about
didn't recognize him at first.
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
exactly. Because I thought about the Will Smith film I, Robot. That's what I was kind of feeling.
It's like her and I, Robot.
Right,
Because you
right.
have this sort of seemingly romantic thing going on,
Right.
very odd romantic thing. It looks creepy, though.
Right, right.
I mean, her was creepy in its own way, but this looks more outwardly creepy, I think.
Right.
Yeah, and it sort of has the look of iRobot, though. The
Right.
A
simple,
little bit
like,
of the sleek, futuristic
right.
And I think
Apple
one of
store.
Yeah, I think the Apple Store.
nice. I think one of the things that they say in the trailer is something along the lines of survival being, like
The most human trait.
Right,
Yes.
exactly.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to see, this robot trying to, I guess, get free from Oscar Isaac. But it looks, like you said, really creepy, especially the one scene in the trailer where, like, the robot is, like, running up to it. I'm like, whoa,
Yeah.
this is going to be interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
It
hard to
was-
get a grasp on what is that exactly what type of film it is to me.
Right.
Yeah, and it was
Yeah.
sort of flying under my radar until we were talking about it and went and checked out the trailer and it's like, how have I not been excited for this already?
Yeah.
Right.
And there's been a few early reviews already out there.
Really?
I'm not sure if it was at some
festival
festivals
film?
or
Actually,
or what, but,
UK. I know the UK. They're about to release the film in about a few weeks. So.
okay, so that might be where
That-
it's coming
yeah.
from, and they were just really positive reviews. So I'm
Okay.
definitely looking forward to
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And from what I've read, Garland, this is his very first film as a director. He's written screenplays for Sunshine and 28 Days Later. So this will be a great chance to see his first film. And from what I see in the trailer, this is going to be a brilliant film for 2015.
Yeah. And I think what's really going to be cool about it is it doesn't seem like there's way too many actors that are going to be in it. It just seems like we're focused on just a few.
These three
and that
people.
means that the performances have to be really powerful to keep our attention. So I think it's going to be pretty cool.
Domhnall Gleeson is a good actor.
Yes,
you
he
know,
is.
he was. Even though I didn't think it was the greatest movie
Also
overall,
Star
he was,
Wars.
Star Wars. yeah.
Jeez.
That's right. He's in Star Wars.
Yeah.
He was in Unbroken, and he was good in that, and he was in Frank. If anybody saw that movie, that was a pretty obscure.
That was a strange
That was a
movie.
very strange movie.
Definitely worth checking out,
Yeah,
though. I
and
think.
he did a really good job. He pretty much was the lead in that film, carried that movie.
Yeah.
But so it should be exciting.
Okay. All right, guys. Well, let's keep it moving. Mission Impossible 5. What are you guys' thoughts on it? Hamilton, let's start with you.
And that's another one of those sort of guilty pleasure films. The last one was a lot of fun, and I'm hoping this one's a lot of fun too. It's got a good cast. So it's, that.
I think they've gotten
It's Tom
better
Cruise.
and better.
Yeah.
Tom Cruise has been doing his thing. I mean, he was, Edge of Tomorrow was, I think, one of the most underrated films of the year.
Right.
And if he brings that sort of comedic action to Mission Impossible.
Can we just say that Tom Cruise is a phenomenal actor? Forget what you think about him outside of
That's what I say,
the camera,
yeah.
but like when he's there, like
He's there.
He's
100% committed. He does most of his stunts. I mean, speaking of Mission Impossible, in the last one, he did all his stunts hanging from the tallest building in the world.
Right.
He did all of his own stunt driving in Jack Reacher, which is Mission Impossible 5, being directed by what's his name, Christopher McQuarrie, who did
Yes.
Jack Reacher. He did all his stunt driving, so he's really involved in everything and dedicated. So I've always thought that despite what you think about the personal life, the Scientology stuff, whatever it is, he's a great actor.
Right.
Yeah.
And like, how old is he now? Not that age is a big deal, but I'm just saying, like, he's doing his thing.
52.
Well, I'm just happy he's not in any of the expendable films. That's the plus for me.
I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, because
don't speak too soon though.
Tom Cruise.
We'll see how long the franchise lasts.
Right.
Yeah, they'll pick him up in 10 years.
Yeah, because Tom Cruise has been acting since Taps back in '82, and to see him come from Taps to Top Gun, now in the Mission Impossible films, now in his 5th film, you got to hand to him. He has that dedication. He has that drive to keep a franchise going and to keep that film going through 5 films. And then to add Jeremy Renner, who was in the last film, and Simon Pegg, who started in the 3rd film. You're right, the film's franchise keeps getting better and better, and I can't wait to see what this 5th film has to offer.
Yeah, and in some ways, you know, it's interesting because a lot of the films that we've named so far are a lot of ensemble pieces, and I think that's also what makes me, and like, I'm excited about it because it's like you get to see your old friends once again, you know, like that old chemistry, even the banter between everyone, you know, on the team, you know, that's what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah.
All right, so let's move forward. Now, this is our resident expert, Hamilton Whitney, The Hunger Games, Mockingjay, Part 2. You know, obviously, Part 1 was a huge trailer for Part 2, but what do you guys think about it?
I don't want to say goodbye. Seriously, I mean, you read the books when, you know, not too long ago, and then to see this movie franchise go from the first one where it was a bloodbath forth to the second one, and then to the first part, which was just months ago, just literally months ago, to set you up, and now all of a sudden this year you gotta say goodbye to the franchise. It's like, wow.
Well, I hope we're saying goodbye to the franchise.
Yeah,
The question always comes up, are there going to be spin-offs? Are there going to be Broadway shows? Are there going to be amusement parks? And all of those,
that would be fun.
Believe it or not, all of those have been brought up with the conversations with Lionsgate.
Right.
But it just feels like the wrong franchise to do something like that with.
Right.
But I'm definitely looking forward to the final film. Knowing the book, which I thought was the weakest book, but seeing the direction they're taking with the films, I think it's going to be a really powerful ending.
Yeah.
It's definitely, the franchise has grown on me, having not read the books. You know, I definitely thought, and most, I think, like you said, the Part 1 of Mockingjay was kind of weak because it was just this sort of glorified, overlong setup for the big event, which is going to be the final, the Part 2, which I'm very much looking forward to because I think it's going to be done right. I think the technical aspects of the last one were great. I think it just didn't warrant a 2-hour film.
Right.
You know, and that's my opinion from somebody who didn't read the book, but I think the final part is going to be what everybody's waiting for.
Yeah, and I mean, we talked about this. I felt like, you know, the Part 1, it was warranted if it had 1 more hour and that was the end of it.
Right.
Like, if I could have sat through a 3-hour Mockingjay, but they split it up into 2. And again, I just feel like this is the studio trying to make money off of this franchise and maybe squeeze out as many, you know, turn us over and squeeze out as many pennies and nickels as they can.
That's the trend with the young adult books, like, you know, the Twilight and the Harry Potters. And I mean, I guess it worked for the Harry Potter series a little bit better, but you know, I think ultimately it'll be a good movie.
Yeah,
I'm expecting it to be.
Yeah,
but you have those brilliant performances carried over. You got Jennifer Lawrence, who was an unknown in Winter's Bone prior to coming to this, and since The Hunger Games, her career has literally skyrocketed. She's won an Oscar. She's become a fan of women and men everywhere in the country, myself included.
Yeah.
And then you have the last performance of Philip Seymour Hoffman, one of his last roles. And it's like, he passed away just last year, and it's hard to say goodbye to an actor. You grew up with their career, you followed their brilliant roles and performances. And, you know, with Paul Walker, this is going to be a year we're going to say goodbye to 2 good actors.
Right. Yeah, definitely. All right, guys. Well, we're all, I guess, the fans of Mockingjay. Although I got to say, I will be glad to be done with this franchise. All right. So, Chappie, directed by Neil Blomkamp. Does anybody want to give a brief summary of what the film is about? Because this is another one that...
It's another sort of artificial intelligence. I guess you had said in an email or something like this might be the year of AI. Was that
right.
Talking about Ex Machina and now you know, Chappie, about this sort of robot that grows up like a child that learns. I guess he's sort of kidnapped by a gang of people, like a gang in sort of a projects in South Africa, and is raised like a person and learns and adapts, and then I guess from there has to deal with the hardship of life and prejudices and all that sort of thing is what it looks like. And it looks like it might be Neil Blomkamp's attempt at kind of doing a PG-13 film, more of a family film, though it ends up looking a little bit rough there in the trailer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I loved District 9, which was his first film there. Had a lot of social commentary, obviously, and this looks like it's a lot more in the vein of District 9 in the themes and in the way that it seems to be telling the story, sort of in an active narrative, I guess you'd call it. There was a lot of like newscasts sort of telling the story as it's happening. I was disappointed in Elysium. Was that 2 years ago, I guess?
Yeah.
Which looked like it had a lot of potential, and it was sort of him going with bigger ideas, bigger budget, action film, and sort of had a lot of good ideas and didn't know what to do with them into that. And this looks like it's sort of more of a move back to District 9, the way that was told. It looks really interesing.
They're re-teaming up with Sharlto Copley.
Well, I think he's been
sort
in
of,
all of
yeah,
his.
he's
He's his good luck charm there.
They grew up
Yeah,
together.
oh yeah, that is
Yeah.
true. Yeah, he was in Elysium. Yeah. So that's it for Chappie. Let's just talk about Mad Max Fury Road. What do you guys think about? Again, this is another franchise that's popping up from the past, and you know, here it is in our present for a whole new crop of moviegoers. What do you guys think?
I'm really looking forward to it because it was Road Warrior, which was the second Mad Max movie, was one of my favorite films growing up as a kid. This film, the trailer looks amazing. It looks absolutely gorgeous. You know, it's Tom Hardy has taken on the role as Mad Max, replacing Mel Gibson. From what I know, this took like 25 years. I mean, since Thunderdome, which was like 87, 88?
85.
Was it 85?
85. Can you
So
believe that?
30 years, right? You're
Yeah.
right. 30 years of like of concepts and scripts, and then getting shut down and deciding whether Gibson was going to play Mad Max, and then so they picked up Tom Hardy. He looks perfect to me in this, and it just looks amazing. George Miller's directing it. The visuals are insane in the trailer. I don't know what it's about, other than it looks awesome.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I mean, unlike you, I didn't grow up watching that franchise. I haven't actually watched any of them. I plan on going back and catching them on Netflix before the sequel comes out to see what I was missing. But just judging from the trailer alone, it was definitely one of the best trailers I've seen in a long time. You can't not be excited for the movie just watching that.
Yeah.
Right.
I have to agree with Michael. The moment I saw the Interceptor roll across the screen one more time,
The same car. Yeah,
it's
you're like
I am there. And then here George Miller is back on board. It's like, that's 2 times going. And to see Tom Harding, who had great roles in Locke and, gosh, about the other Bronson, and the other film I can't forget. But he's a great talented actor. Warrior was the other one where he boxed his way into the UFC ring. He has done an outstanding career thus far, and see him take over as Max Rokitansky, it's like brilliant. And see Charlize Theron play a bad guy, a bad role for once. I mean, her performance in Monster so many years ago, where she won the Oscar, it's like, if she can get another role like that, it's worth the watch. And to see her in Mad Max, like, perfect combination. I'm there.
What's so great about these films, and you'll see, particularly in the Road Warrior, is the elaborate desert car chase sequences.
Right.
And you have like an 18. You have, the whole concept, I guess, is the world. You know, the oil is the currency. People are trying to. Whoever has the oil wins, and so people are trying to hijack tanker trucks, and there's all these crazy-looking vehicles. You know, and just it looks nuts, and everything. Most of it, at least, looks like practical effects. Blowing stuff up.
Yeah.
Lots of fun.
Except for that one storm that it looked like
sandstorm,
if you get sucked
that
into
might
it,
be
you
a
evaporate.
bit,
a bit too much.
Yeah.
But hey, I think it's...
So what you're saying is with all the franchise crossing over, we should have a Fast and Furious and Mad Max.
Now that would be
would be
dope.
great.
That would be
If
awesome.
somehow there were like a post-apocalyptic Fast and Furious film, number 11 or 12, whenever we get there, then, yeah.
And plus, it's one of those films you rarely get to see the Australian outback in its beauty. Just sand, no buildings, no car. Well, lots of cars.
Right.
But you see this post-apocalyptic world that's captured brilliantly in film, and you never seen that anywhere since. I don't think there's any film in the last 30 years you've seen that world captured so brilliantly, so wonderfully than the Mad Max trilogy. Well, now 4th film along the way. So it would be great to go back to that world and think, how will we survive as humans in that world?
Right.
Will we have to go to the Thunderdome where we say 2 men enter, 1 man leave, or do we have to bar our way to getting some oil?
Yeah, I definitely think it's going to be an adventure. It'll be cool to see. And again, I think as you guys are saying, it's the world that's created within the film that's going to make it so cool. All right, guys. So were there any that we didn't mention that, you know, you just think is like an honorable mention, something that you're looking forward to see?
I would say the honorable mention for me, it's the Peanuts movie. Since the Peanuts films, you haven't seen, you've seen the TV specials, seen the cartoons over years, but you haven't seen any films since, I think it was Race for Your Life, Charlie Brown, which was nearly 30 years ago, nearly 40 years ago. Mm-hmm. And to see him in a brand new animation style to honor Charles Schultz and the Peanuts games, like, for a lot of kids growing up with Peanuts, this is the one you're waiting for, to see Charlie Brown and Snoopy. And Snoopy was one of my favorite cartoon heroes growing up.
Nice. Cool. Peanuts. I didn't even know that they're making them, that the movie's coming out, so that's cool.
Yep, it's coming out in fall 2015.
Okay.
Oh, that
cool.
long out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of movies coming out this year, I feel like, and a lot of blockbusters that seem like they're going to have a lot of promise. I mean, the new Jurassic Park, for one, definitely excited to see that.
Yeah.
Got Chris Pratt, who's become huge all of a sudden.
Megastar.
Yeah.
And he's still on Parks and Rec.
Yep.
So, yeah, I'm definitely interested in that one. And sort of an oddball choice, I'm looking forward to Pitch Perfect 2.
Yeah,
The first one, watching the trailer, I thought, oh, this is going to be High School Musical in college, and it's going to be dumb. And watching the movie, it was just a brilliant comedy with good music. They just happened to be a cappella singers also, and they sort of made a cappella cool again for a while.
Yeah.
And the sequel, the Gang's Back, it's the first directorial effort by Elizabeth Banks. She's taken over the director's chair for this one, so it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah.
I think it'll be a funny movie.
Definitely.
Fun.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think Jurassic Park is one. It's not at the top of the list, but it looks good. It's going to be interesting to see where they take that.
Yeah.
And I think you had reminded me, and this was totally not on my mind when we were talking about what films we were going to bring up, but the new Tarantino movie at the end of the year, The Hateful Eight. It's like a post-Civil War film.
Right.
Who knows what he's going to do with that?
Right.
You know, famous revisionist that Tarantino is.
Right.
So that should be interesting.
Yeah.
But it, like you said, it's going to be a massive year.
Yeah.
For some reason, I thought Batman versus Superman was coming out this year. I realized it wasn't until 2016. So.
Yeah, man. Well, hope you extra don't die until.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes.
Right. Well, cool, guys. Thanks so much again. I love having you guys on the show. Make sure, let's just go around. We'll start with Dean. Make sure you can tell people where they can read your content and check you out.
Well, they can check me out at therogersreview.com. Review spelling R-E-V-U-E. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. We give away promotion, contests, tickets. We do movie reviews. We do just about everything, but no gossip. So check it out.
Right. But not TMZ.
Exactly. No TMZ here.
Nice.
Yeah, you can find my movie reviews, a few articles, some contests to see local movie screenings, all on filmhamster.com. I'm also on Facebook and Twitter.
Cool.
And you can find myself and Eddie Pasa at dcfilmdom.com, also on Facebook and Twitter.
Awesome. Well, again, thanks, guys. I look forward to sitting in the theaters next to you this upcoming year. And hopefully, this time next year when we're talking Oscars, the Academy will watch the same films that we see.
We can only hope.
Definitely. All right. Stay tuned. We'll be right back for the wrap-up.
Hi, I'm Tia Day from Red One Entertainment, and you're watching Picture Lock.
I'd like to thank my guests, Hamilton Whitney of FilmHamster.com, Dean Rogers of the Rogers Review, and Michael Parsons of DC Filmdom for coming on the show today. Be sure to check out their website and follow them on Twitter. You can find Picture Lock at picturelockshow.com. Follow us on Twitter and like us on Facebook. And listen to us on iTunes and Stitcher. But most importantly, make sure you keep it locked on film.